So you wisely, you weighed that, how much you're probably feeling some anger. You're probably resentful towards them. Maybe you actually wanted, I know what I'm in a similar situation when I was going through that process. There was lots of, it's easy to get on a path that could lead you down. Well, it's like a war path, right?
Yeah.
And, I think for a lot of people, myself included, I can get in those situations and I realize that it's not the best thing for me, but I'll move forward anyway because I'm so mad, right? And you were able to, keep your poise and look at the situation, see what they were doing, and then basically decide to be forthright.
Yeah. And the other thing, and I don't say this to pat myself on the back, but I say it because it was effective. I also had in my mind that one of the things I've learned in this recovery journey is that gratitude goes a long way, and not only for the other person, but expressing gratitude and living in gratitude. It almost doesn't leave room for a lot of those other ugly, difficult feelings, and to be intentional with gratitude can kind of change my own feeling.
It's a fact. Yeah. It's there's evidence backing that up. It's really interesting.
There is. And so I thanked my manager and human resources team from my employer for saving my life.
Mm-hmm.
And said, had you have not taken me off work immediately and, started this whole process off, I could be dead. And I don't know what would have happened, but I could be dead. I certainly wouldn't have come to that conclusion on my own, I don't think. So thank you. I'm grateful for you. And again, that's not, I don't pat myself on the back necessarily for that, but I think that it did. I think that it kind of shook everyone in the room, and it was another thing that I thought, well, what else can I say here where I can leave feeling like I turned over every stone, and gratitude was part of that, I think.
Yeah, that when you told me that after it happened, I'm still impressed with the way that you handled the whole situation, but that particular move there where you decided to take the high road and then you really dug into it to an extent that I think you left that meeting not only with your head high, but I think you made some people really start to think about their own lives and the way they were handling the problem. It shook them up, right?
Yeah. And as you know, I'm not an AA guy, but the piece about making amends and healing broken relationships, there is obviously something to that. There's value to that.
Of course.
And I don't think as we will learn as the story goes on, that I could fully heal that relationship with my employer. But in the spirit of making amends and in the spirit of trying to heal myself, all I can worry about is trying to heal myself. To say, hey, if you hadn't have done that, I could be dead right now. And I believe that to be true. And so the fact that I had that opportunity to express it and I did, I'm sure glad that I did. Yeah.
Yes. And that's the reason it hit so hard, is because you believed that to be, that you believed there was a real potential for you to die, and that they really did pull you out of the fire there. And you were honestly grateful.
Yeah.
Had it been just, something that you concocted to, because you thought it was the right thing to do or whatever, I don't think it would have had nearly the same impact.
No. And me coming clean about all of all of my behavior at work and what I was doing, and coming clean about all of the medication that was missing. And as it was, there was still no evidence that I was intoxicated at work, but I was admitting to that too. And that was what was going to do potentially heal that relationship with my employer. It wasn't the gratitude. That was for myself, I think, to try to heal. That said, it worked in that that termination letter was rescinded.
So they rescinded the termination letter. Yeah. And wanted to think things over. That's how that meeting ended?
Exactly.
Okay. And what did your union say about how that went? Curious to know what their thoughts were there.
I think the consensus there was that it went well. I mean, the particularly from the person who had been advising me just to come clean and be honest, she felt that was at that moment the right move. We didn't know at that point what was going to be the next course of action, but I had expressed that I felt better about it, that my head was held high, and they were supportive and kind of said, okay, now we get you back to work. Maybe now we proceed with they rescind the termination, we proceed with the accommodation process, and we get you back to work. So now we're into the summer. So again, I thought, okay, we're almost there.
Mm-hmm. So you think about all this kind of back and forth and these meetings that you've had, the amount of stress in not knowing what's going to be presented to you. All the while you're trying to improve yourself and recover from Hydromorph.
Yeah.
So this is all going on. And so you get to, this is towards the end of the summer of 2021?
Yep.
Okay.
And didn't hear from them for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I can't recall exactly how long, but probably a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then finally got a phone call thinking, okay, here comes the back to work meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, instead, we're sending you for a third independent medical examination.
Okay. So, so just to get this straight here. So usually what happens is you get sent for your initial independent medical assessment, right?
Yep.
So they give you a diagnosis of severity, and usually they'll check off a couple boxes depending on what substances are involved. They send you to treatment. You completed that. They come back. They do another assessment, like a follow-up assessment.
Yep. And
say, okay, this guy or this person has completed the treatment. We believe that they're on the right track, or we believe they're not. Most often it's, as long as you complete the treatment they tell you to complete, then they'll give you the okay to move on from there. So in that time, you've been going through all these investigative meetings, and for some reason, your employer is requesting another IME. Did they say they wanted it from a different doctor? What was the reasoning there? The reasoning was, and excuse me, I can't speak for my employer, but the reasoning was that I had now admitted to all of these discrepancies. I'd admitted to removing these drugs from the medication machine, taking them at work, being intoxicated at work. But no one saw me do it. And no one reported that I was intoxicated. So what was actually in question was, is this guy for real? Or was I admitting, and again, I'm extrapolating this from the evidence that I have. Mm-hmm. Was I, in fact, taking this medication for my own consumption while at work? Or was I don't know if they were sort of suggesting that maybe I was selling it or that I was doing something else with it, because there was no evidence that I was taking it at work. This is something that I would love people to, this is an opportunity to get this point across to people. It's a common misconception that you're going to be able to tell, or you're going to see somebody who's using high doses of morphine or hydromorph, OxyContin, whatever it is, and you're going to be able to tell because of that person's work is deteriorating or whatever. This is not true. It's not. This is a fallacy. Many people actually find it helpful in that they can work longer. They can, there's a few benefits to using opiates at work. I'm not making an advertisement for doing that, but I'm saying that it's a stigma that's well ingrained in our culture, to the point that this is actually quite common. If many times an employer will see somebody who's been on an opiate for a couple of years, it comes to their attention, they look back at the records and they think this is impossible. Nobody could be at work functioning like this if they were taking all these opiates.
Yeah, exactly.
They often come to the conclusion that you must be selling them, which is, I've never seen that.
It's unfortunate, because the first thing that came through my head was, I wish that someone had caught me then. I wish that someone had have seen me doing something, or seen me when I was behaving erratically or doing something that triggered them to report me. I wish for that. At first, I thought it was a good thing that I wasn't reported in that way, but I think it actually would have made my life easier in the months ahead if they had just said, "Yeah, you were caught red-handed," so to speak. But you're absolutely right, Nathan, about that stigma. The other thing I was going to say is that during those months at the end of, or at the active months of addiction for me, because of the state of our country's public health emergency, I had goggles and a full mask on all the time. So I don't think people, I think that was I was hiding.
Yeah, I guess. It's weird to me, because it's another one of those things where they keep seeing the same thing over and over again in these departments, and they come to the same conclusion. Like, at some point, you would think that there's some learning, right? You see, well, you know what? We've seen 20 nurses go through this year. They all seem to be able to do their job, in fact, quite well, while taking these. Usually it's Hydromorph. Yeah. So wouldn't you adjust your evaluation of the situation at some point? I don't know what I'm missing in that part of the equation.
No, it's true. It's true. And I was never accused of that. I was never accused of doing anything other than taking it myself. And I admitted to taking it myself. So to go back for a third independent medical examination, I was sent back to the same doctor to start from square one. And essentially that was what was requested, was that a full new examination was completed to include conversation about how this could be that I was working and not getting caught by my coworkers.
Was this separate from the letter that they sent? Because wasn't there a point where they wanted you to get a letter signed, or they wanted your general practitioner to fill out a form or something like this?
So yeah, thank you. The purpose of the independent medical examination was to complete a 2 or 3 page document that had a list of questions from human resources. Those questions were based in the previous independent medical examination and in their investigation, including my confession.
Okay.
And
yeah, can we read a couple of those questions?
If do you have them there? For sure.
I think I do. Just give me 1 sec if I can find them. Hey everybody, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.